What's up guys, welcome back. TCG Metagame breakdown for March, end of March 2018. Again, it has been a couple of weeks ever since the last TCG Metagame breakdown, but with, you know, the YCS from a past weekend, a couple of tournaments as well here in Europe, so let's take a look at like the top deck lists and, you know, our current TCG format and, well, the possible consequences of past YCS for like the banlist and, you know, upcoming releases, etc. The video will be divided in like, let me double check, 4 parts, so let's dig into part 1 first, being the YCS. You know, the past YCS Salt Lake City, I believe there were like, it was a very small YCS, like 528 people, again correct me if I'm wrong. A couple of deck lists are already like on YouTube, on social media, all props to everyone who made videos about them. First, like, I've seen Simo uploading videos, Asian Persuasion, of course, the guy goes to like every YCS in the States. I've seen Slim uploading as well. Again, all the sources, all links will be in the video description for live profiles. Check that out. Also, Carloncho's store, Italian Yu-Gi-Oh! Ready for duel as well, for like the beautiful pictures of the deck list. But again, all sources, all links will be in the video description. You know that the first place winner from past YCS was True Dracos. Again, this particular deck, True Dracos, masterpiece deck, took, I believe, everyone at surprise. At least for me. I definitely did not expect True Draco, or at least masterpiece deck winning this particular YCS. We know it's like an underdog deck compared to which we all assume is still the best deck, right? Even though with this, with these results, Pendulums / Pendulum Magicians featuring Electromite. But again, first place list, small True Draco engine, a couple of masterpieces, right? But I think one of the most important cards that lets you know, like True Draco is established with a huge Pendulum Magician board is the level 4 Rock Spirit monster. Again, blocking like all of your opponent's monster effects, that leaves you playing with your True Dracos and, you know, giving you the extra normal summon with your spells, for example, definitely helps. So yeah, again, not really eventually again seeing the lists, etc. Not really surprising that this particular list won, again due to all the floodgates. Again, this deck is not really that hard to play, but the fact that it can slap in so many floodgates, like anti-spell, multiple skill drains, like, you know, the Monarch's Erupt, again, also the draw bar, that's also something that we are going to talk about in the small banlist section, like Card of the Mice at 3, multiple desires, Upstart to some extent, but namely the Card of the Mice, right, are still being at 3. It's one of those cards that might get hit soon next to a couple of other cards, but I'll come back to that in a couple of moments. So again, first place True Draco is right. The second place no list, but third place, and that's a list, again, wasn't really too popular in the States from past, you know, tournaments, YCSs mainly, like the 60 card decks. It was more popular over here in Europe, like we saw at YCS Prague. Second place, like a 60 card Lightsworn Dinosaur deck, I believe, Zombies as well, and also at the most recent YCS Bochum, a couple of like 60 card decks managed to sneak in, but 60 cards, at least from what I know, from what I've seen, wasn't really too popular in the States, right, at United States YCSs. But here, third place, no Lightsworns, but tons of hand traps, right, Predaplant Engine Dinosaurs using the Overtex, small Overtex engine. The Pill as well, Brilliant Fusion, etc. Right, 60 cards, definitely a force to be reckoned with. And if you're looking at like banlist speculation cards, Brilliant Fusion for the gazillionth time, right? Oviraptor, maybe not really. Is Oviraptor hit in the OCG? I'm not really sure about that. I might be mistaken, but also looking at the Predaplant engine here, also hit in the OCG again, if I'm not mistaken. A fairy tale, of course, but yeah, anyway, like that's probably for like another video to like go in depth, right? That's again very interesting, as we saw from, you know, past couple of tournaments, also past YCS, is the Metal Foes hybrids, especially with Pendulums, right, being masterpiece like having Father with the Metal Foe trap cards, for example. Diagrams still at 3 definitely helps. Same for Terraforming, right, increasing the consistency of of this particular deck, and of course having like the biggest advantages of the Pendulum engine being the Electromite, like 3 pluses with Astrograph Sorcerer, and of course, well, you know, 3 pluses with the Trap Search being like fodder for Masterpiece, and Masterpiece on its own being like a super ignorant card. Again, one of those cards being like speculation should this card be banned. More to that within the next couple of moments. But again, quite interesting, like an underdog force, however you want to call it, right? Metal Foe through Dracos. This was an interesting list. The Burning Abyss deck, the 60 card Burning Abyss deck featuring the Galaxy Worm as well. A lot of Burning Abyss cards, right? One of Fairy Tail, of course. A couple of Typhoons in the main deck, I like that. A couple of random cards as well, being the Magical Spring, for example. Desires as well. Triple Allure 60 cards, right? Wasn't really expecting BA 60 cards to do so well. Top 8, so it definitely worked out fine for him. The live profile is up from this particular list as well, so definitely check that one out. The last, most important list, I believe, being like one of the top 8 lists, being Tricksters. Not really too spectacular here with the Heavy Storm Duster in the main deck. One of the stronger 2-card combinations being the Droll and Lockbird and Reincarnation. Still super strong, same for Scapegoat, right? Oh, something I haven't mentioned yet is, you know, with the special edition that Call by the Grave was live for this event, but from what I have seen, it's not really too impactful yet, as we are seeing in the OCG now. Like Red Reboot, Called by the Grave are like somewhat staple slash semi-staple cards in either main or side deck, right? It needs a ban list, and then this card will definitely be much more important depending on, you know, the ban list itself. So that's for pretty much like the YCS, and for the top 32 like breakdown, as we saw, since I didn't mention it yet, like again, Pendulum Magicians was the most represented deck in the top cut, quickly followed by True Dracos and then Mech Knight Invoked. Same for like the European YCSs, like a couple of Mech Knight Invoked lists also like managed to sneak in the top cut. Metal Foes, Dinosaurs, Burning Abyss, right? Tricksters as well being one of the other decks. I think also I've also seen ABCs entering, was it the top 32? I'm not really sure if he managed to pull it, at least eventually go to top 16. No, probably not, as you see here in the top 16 breakdown pie chart. But again, as you see here, like Pendulum Magicians going very strong, but as you probably know, like going into top 8, and then we get this, like I think every Pendulum Magician player lost in top 8, and Metal Foes like sneaked in as like one of the only Pendulum decks, right? Next to, well, yeah, Tricksters, Dinosaurs, but again, 50% for players being True Dracos, and eventually we saw like top 4, and eventually the finals, well, the finals that is like a True Draco mirror match, and eventually True Draco won. So again, quite interesting. And that brings me with topic number 2 is the ban list. When should we expect the ban list? Probably around April. And this particular poll, quite interesting, since again, like that's how it goes, right? Within our community, like True Draco winning a YCS, and then all the speculation about the ban list begins again. If it was Pendulum Magicians, then people would talk about Pendulum Magicians like Astrograph Sorcerer, for example, as you see here, like which card should be hit for Pendulum Magicians. Well, that debate would have been much stronger if Pendulum Magicians would have won. But yeah, again, Masterpiece, Dragonic Diagram, both still at 3 for us TCG players, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is both cards are banned, right, in the OCG, Masterpiece and Diagram, so definitely both cards are like one of those top cards to be somewhat hit on our upcoming TCG ban list, next to a couple of other cards, for example. But again, these two, maybe Terraforming to some extent, but again, these two, Masterpiece and or Diagram, yeah, it's just Masterpiece, right? Being unaffected by stuff you want to pick, play during your opponent's turn, interrupts, it's again a crazy stupid cards. But yeah, anyway, to the next point. So that was like the small ban list discussion, right? Well, same for Pendulum Magicians, right? Astrograph Sorcerer being like, I believe, one of those top cards to be hit to some extent for us, for us TCG players on the next TCG ban lists. And then last, well, yeah, no, for the future, and that's the third part is, yeah, well, for the future, right? We are getting, well, it's a couple of months still, Brandish, and Diablo's dot deck, the Lair of Darkness structure deck. Both these decks are doing very good, very strong decks currently in the OCG, conquering their format, as I'll do like a review during the next upcoming days for the OCG as well. Again, quite interesting to see how the metagame is developing over there. Again, a huge metagame shift. So for CCG players like Konami, definitely needs to hit the current decks in order to do something like, you know, Brandish has like a lot of targeting effects, like the what is it called, the fire card, like popping, or at least targeting one of your opponent's monsters. So, well, if your opponent is like Masterpiece, the card is quite useless. So, again, Konami is probably going to, well, TCG Konami is probably going to hit, at least touch like the Masterpiece dot deck through Dracos, but again, that's all speculation. And last but not least, a couple of random lists, but seem to be quite interesting. We have a top 8 Spiral list here from, I believe, an ARG, but again, pretty much like Link Spam, featuring the Plant engine as well. Again, nothing too spectacular. The Scapegoats also, but quite nifty. Here we have like a World Championship qualifier in the Netherlands, going 5-1, 60 cards. Again, a deck that's quite popular over here in Europe, like 60 cards, zombie, plant, shenanigans, right? Light Sworn's a small, super small Light Sworn engine as well, just using the charge of the Light Brigades, right? And then last, and this is the most interesting list I've seen from past weekend, also at like the World Championship qualifier at London from past weekend. Thanks Yuri for posting up the lists. Is through Draco, through King Samurai. Again, I have been playing this deck for like months ago, featuring the level 1 Shadow 6 Samurai, like I believe it's also a tuner, right? Again, quite interesting, and the fact that Terraforming is still a 3, Diagram is still a 3, this deck is quite decent, right? Especially with Bow Baboon, and also not to forget, main decking the Called by the Grave, since cards like Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre are this deck's like biggest counter, right? Especially Ghost Ogre to hit your Diagram search. But quite interesting, going 5-1 by the way, so again, definitely interesting. Okay guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or a like if you enjoyed the video. Lithium signing out. Peace.